building, bridge, or a steel structure. So it is essential to understand first understand the site under which zone of seismic it is coming. Otherwise, if you are engaged in the design of a structure, say a building, in the zone where it is of zone 4 or zone 5, very high seismic effects are there, then if you design without taking into the consideration of seismic force and the detailing part of seismic effect, then your structure, you are delivering the structure at a high risk. Henceforth, when before you engage in any sort of design and the preparation of detailing, first you have to understand under which category of seismic zone the site is located. Now we are going to discuss, or we are going to travel in this session about what are the different techniques that are available in retrofitting or rehabilitation of the structure which have undergone seismic damages. So before getting into that, first let us understand what is an earthquake. The earthquake is a result of a sudden release of stored energy in the earth's crust that creates seismic waves. Earthquakes may occur naturally or as a result of human activities. Smaller earthquakes can also be caused by volcanic activity, landslides, and mine blasts and nuclear experiments. Friends, it is not, see, the impact of earthquake is known to us only when we visualize or experience the impact of the seismic waves, that is shaking of ground, which may lead to a shaking of building or a development of cracks on the earthen surface, and based on the damages that it causes on the buildings, on the human beings. So that time only, that moment only, we able to understand that there is some earthquake is happening. Otherwise, generally, when we will not be experiencing such type of scenario, that sometimes the people used to feel faint because of the shaking of the ground. So whenever there are no impact, or when we ourselves not feel the the moment of taking of ground, but still there may be underneath, there may be a seismic waves may be traveling. There may be effect of seismic energy where the scale value will be less than 5. Even you might have heard of many in the news also. So henceforth, now we will be seeing a small video about what is an earthquake. So because it is very important for us from at the engineering level to understand any whenever you are involved in the repair, rehabilitation or maintenance, first we have to understand the source of the problem. What is the source of the problem? How the problems are happening, and what are the impacts that will cause on the structures. Then mapping the problem on the structure, then it will be very easy for you to develop the remedial measure suiting the problem and the source. When you are attacking the solution for the problem and the source, how it has come, when you have a clear understanding, then automatically the solution that you are going to develop will certainly work at the site. Otherwise, without understanding the source, if you keep on developing the solution, the recurrence of problem will happen. So our main objective in the repair, rehabilitation, retrofitting is not to give a solution temporarily. We have to put an end to the recurrence of the problem and bring back the design function of the structure and in meeting its durability, safety, and serviceability, and meeting its intended design life. Okay, my dear friends, let's see a small video. See, I am trying my best to bring out some videos to more understandable format, and it will be very easy for you when you go out and you become a place in the design engineering office. It will be very easy for you to do your design job. I hope audio is, so you are able to hear the audio,
No, sir. Actually, audio is
sir.
not. Audio is not. Sir, there is no audio, sir. Actually, can't able to hear.
One second.
An earthquake. An earthquake takes place when two blocks of the earth suddenly slip past one another. The surface where they slip is called a fault
So now you are
piece.
able to hear.
Yes,
The
sir. Yes, sir.
region of the Earth's surface where the earthquake starts is called the hypocenter, and the location directly above it on the surface of the Earth is called the epicenter. Sometimes an earthquake has foreshocks. These are smaller earthquakes that happen in the same place before a large earthquake takes place. The largest main earthquake is called the main shock. Main shocks are always followed by aftershocks that occur in the same place and can continue for weeks, months, and even years. What causes earthquakes and where do they happen? The Earth has four major layers: the inner core, outer core, mantle, and crust. The crust and the top of the mantle make up a thin skin on the surface of our planet. But this skin is not all in one piece. It is made up of many pieces covering the surface of the Earth. These pieces are called tectonic plates, and the edges of the plates are called the plate boundaries. These pieces keep moving around slowly, sliding past one another and bumping into each other. These plate boundaries are made up of many faults, and most earthquakes around the world occur on these faults. Why does the earth shake when there is an earthquake? While the edges of the faults are stuck together and the rest of the block is moving, the energy that would normally cause the blocks to slide past one another is being accumulated. When the force of the moving blocks finally overcomes the friction of the jagged edges of the fault, it breaks free, and all that stored up energy is released. The seismic waves shake the earth as they move through it, and when the waves reach the earth's surface, they shake the ground and anything on it, like our houses and us. The energy radiates outward from the fault in all directions in the form of seismic waves like ripples in a pond. How are earthquakes recorded? Earthquakes are recorded by instruments called seismographs. The recording they make is called a seismogram. The seismograph has a base that sets firmly on the ground and a heavy weight that hangs free. When an earthquake causes the ground to shake, the base of the seismogram shakes too, but the hanging weight does not. Instead, the spring that is hanging absorbs all the movement. The difference in position between the shaking part of the seismograph and the motionless part is what is recorded.
Okay, friends. Now I hope you might have all got a basic idea about what is earthquake and the background of the earthquake. Friends, now we have to understand, wow, why do buildings fall or collapse during earthquake? Because the location where the earthquake is happening is much and much deeper than for the location of the foundation. But still, the buildings are shaking and the buildings are falling, and we are feeling the impact of earthquake. So henceforth, we have to understand the 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 important aspect which is causing the buildings to fall. What are the main source of why the buildings are falling or collapsing? Once that is known, then it will be very easy for you to determine or come up with a solution that can resist or that can take up the energy that has been dissipated from the seismic earthquake. Let's see a small video. See, these videos are being shared with you in during this every session is for a better understanding, and as well as you should not forget the concept. See, we are discussing in every session is to understand the concept principles, so that when you go out and work in the industry at any location, the concept and principles will never change from location to location. Irrespective of site condition may change, the material condition may change, specification may change, but the principles of the delivering the solution or understanding the problem, why the problem is occurring, that may not change. Okay, friends, let's see a small video.
Earthquakes have always been a terrifying phenomenon, and they've become more deadly as our cities have grown, with collapsing buildings posing one of the largest risks. Why do buildings collapse in an earthquake, and how can it be prevented? If you've watched a lot of disaster films, you might have the idea that building collapse is caused directly by the ground beneath them shaking violently or even splitting apart. But that's not really how it works. For one thing, most buildings are not located right on a fault line, and the shifting tectonic plates go much deeper than building foundations. So what's actually going on? In fact, the reality of earthquakes and their effect on buildings is a bit more complicated. To make sense of it, architects and engineers use models, like a two-dimensional array of lines representing polynomials, with circles representing the building's mass. Even when simplified to this degree, these models can be quite useful, as predicting a building's response to an earthquake is primarily a matter of physics. Most collapses that occur during earthquakes aren't actually caused by the earthquake itself. Instead, when the ground moves beneath a building, it displaces the foundation and lower levels, sending shock waves through the rest of the structure and causing it to vibrate back. The strength of this oscillation depends on two main factors: the building's mass, which is concentrated at the bottom, and its stiffness, which is the force required to cause a certain amount of displacement. Along with its material type and shape of its walls, stiffness is largely a matter of weight.
Friends, there are two important terms: stiffness and mass.
Solution is to build short buildings so that they shift as little as possible. But the 1985 Mexico City earthquake is a good example of why that's not the case. During the quake, many buildings between 6 and 15 stories tall collapsed. What's strange is that while shorter buildings nearby did keep standing, buildings answer has to do with something known as natural frequency. In an oscillating system,
Friends, the another important term is natural frequency.
cycles.
The movement of any object to and fro within a second.
Seconds it takes to complete the cycle.
So we have to be very clear that because of the seismic waves that have been traveling and hitting over the object, that is causing the damages.
Stiffness makes it
Because the seismic
so when the
effect, which is the earthquake which is taking place, are much and much deeper than the location of the foundation of each and every structure. However, the waves that are generated during the earthquake underneath the ground,
happen to
that
natural frequency
causing the damages.
time to push on the swing set, each additional seismic wave amplified
So the another important term is resonance.
so on, eventually reaching the extent of initial displacement. Today, engineers
So the three important terms, my dear friends, one is natural frequency, the another one is mass, stiffness, and resonance. These four important terms
swing type
you should never forget.
buildings, while high frequencies of motion
So now we have understood the source which are causing the damages. So once the source are understood, source of the problem is understood, then accordingly developing the solution is very simple.
and systems cancel out resonance by oscillating out phase with natural frequency.
Okay. Now we will move on. Anyway, after this session, I will be sharing this presentation. So you can go through the videos again and again for better understanding. Friends, now the another important term is shear wall. I don't know whether any of you members are doing their project work in shear wall. However, in the present situation in the urban areas, we are able to see so many multi-story buildings. Now, is the multi-story buildings are constructed with the provision of shear wall, because they are giving a lot of advertisement with so many specifications. But however, we should be in a position to understand or give concern whether the building is being constructed with the shear wall or not. Okay, so the shear wall, it is a structural member in a reinforced concrete frame structure to resist lateral forces such as wind forces, earthquake. Shear walls are generally used in high-rise buildings subject to lateral wind and seismic force. My dear friends, the columns and beams, even though you are involved in the design of a framed structure, when the stories are increasing with reference to its height, it has to withstand the impact of wind as well as the seismic. That is, it has to the building not only will undergo the weight of gravity load, that is dead load as well as the live load. Uh, in addition to that, the lateral forces or the lateral load impact also should be resisted by the structural members. Now, to resist the structural members, how we can add value or strengthen the structural frame, that we are going to discuss. That strengthening of the framed structure to resist the lateral impact caused by the wind force or earthquake can be developed or determined by the introduction of shear wall. Shear wall can be of concrete, shear wall can be of steel, shear wall can be of reinforced concrete, hollow block masonry, shear wall can be of the timber roots also, depending upon the type of structure that you are going to design or deliver. Because in reinforced concrete frame structure, the effects of wind forces increases in significance as the structure increases in height. So generally, the relative lateral diffraction in any one story should not exceed the story height divided by 500. That is the thumb rule. Now, next important point is these RCC shear walls carry earthquake loads down to the foundation. They provide large strength and stiffness. My dear friends, you have to keep in mind always the two important. One is mass, another one is stiffness. So the shear walls provide large strength and stiffness to the buildings in the direction of their orientation. At the bottom of this slide, I try to picturize how the shear walls will be provided in the high-rise building in both plan view as well as in the sections and the elevation part also. Now in this slide, you will be seeing at the topmost left-hand side, left side top. 1 minute. So this figure shows the deflected profiles for a shear wall, and this is for a rigid frame. How a same structure, a RCC framed structure, how without shear wall is behaving when it is subject to a lateral force. That same framed structure with the provision of shear wall, how the deflection for the same lateral force. That's what has been picturized here. Now, there are three types of shear walls. It depends upon the h by d. H is the total overall height and d is the width. So, when the h by d ratio is less than 1, it is short shear wall. When h by d is greater than 1 and less than 3, it is called squat type shear wall. When h by d ratio is greater than 3, you call it as or term it as cantilever type shear wall. My dear friends, here the right hand side picture will explain you how the shear wall are linked to the overall structural flexible frame. So this is a skeletal structure which is comprised of column and beam. Now, by provision of shear wall, one is at the end corners, this side, and opposite to this at this end, and similarly at the center core. So with this provision, whenever this skeleton structure is subjected to lateral force, so there will not, this energy delivered by the lateral force will be taken care by the shear wall. It will resist the deflection to a larger extent and reduce, minimize, or avoid the impact, because it finally transfers the load to the foundation. So you are introducing a provision in addition to the compression load, in addition to the flexural load. You are introducing a provision in the framed structural skeleton item in the name of shear wall, concrete type or steel type, so that take the energy dissipated by the lateral force. Okay, my dear friends. Now, in this slide, you will be seeing here that shear walls, the shape of shear wall. It may be of plane, it may be of flange type, or it may be of channel. This channel type or the shape is being provided when you are designing the shear wall in the center core, like this. This is center core. Okay. In many cases, the wall is closed by openings. These are called coupled shear walls because they behave as an individual continuous wall section coupled by connecting beams and slabs See, you have at the base, you have a transfer beam, and finally all are connected to the foundation. So one way to limit, friends, please, it is a very interesting item, the shear wall, the component. When you are going to get an opportunity to work as a design engineer in a multi-story buildings, because in the present situation, within the availability land, you can accommodate 500 to 1,000 families by increasing the height of structure. So one way to limit the sway of buildings and provide stability is to increase the section sizes of the members to create a rigid movement resisting the frame. That is, you can increase the mass. However, this method increases story heights, thus increasing the building cost. So when you are increasing the mass size of the sections and the height to take care of the lateral effect, but that will lead to increase the cost of the structure. So it is rarely used for more than 7 or 8 stories. Suppose if you are involved in the design of more than 25 floors, then in such case, you cannot go for a very cost, you cannot increase the project cost. When you increase the project cost, that cost will finally get transferred to your customers. So the customers may be in a difficult situation to buy the asset that you are designing. So then the number of sales will get reduced. So because the customers will not understand the impact of importance of shear wall. When the marketing team in a residential multi-story flats that what you are seeing today, more and more developing on, even near your colleges on either side of your national highways, more and more multi-story buildings have been developed. But they will never talk to the customers about, yes, this building is being provided the shear wall, which will take up your seismic effect. Like, no, the marketing will not market on the structural components. There, when the discussion with the customer, the engineers will not come into picture. They will say, we have provided a beautiful ventilation, sunlight, lighting arrangement, a gym, swimming pool, a clubhouse, and you have a lot of walk area, jogging area, and so many amenities. But forgetting the fact that whether the structure can resist or can take up the important point is, unless or otherwise, if the asset is alive, irrespective of presence of amenities like gym house or swimming pool or other facilities, if the structure is not alive, what is the use of having so many amenities? So henceforth, as an engineer, when you come out of your curriculum, you should be in a position to come up with a very cost effective optimal designs. So therefore, what is the another way to, instead of increasing the mass with the minimal sections, framed section, taking into account of the cost effect also. What is the another way? The another way is to provide stiff shear resisting walls linked to a flexible frame. This can be of either of external walls. That's what we have shown here. It can be of external wall, like here, this. What you are seeing here, external walls. This can be of external walls or internal walls around the lift shaft and stairwells. That is the center. Where the provision of lift shaft is there. Or sometimes both are provided, as shown in this figure, both at the outer as well as at the center. So normally shear walls are connected directly to the foundation. However, in a few cases where the lateral loads are relatively small and there are no appreciable dynamic effects, Then they can be supported on columns connected by a transfer beam. That's what we are seeing here, transfer beam. And can be supported on columns connected by a transfer beam to provide clear space. So there will be a space at the bottom. Okay, my dear friends. So you will be having a clear space. Now next comes, okay sir, I'm going to design a shear wall. Where the shear wall can be located in a building? My dear friends, the shape and plan position of shear wall influences the behavior of the structure considerably. Structurally, the best position or the location for the shear wall provision is in the center of each half of the building. That's what you are seeing in the right hand side, this each half, and in the center of the each half of the building. This is rarely practical. However, since it dictates the utilization of the space, so they are positioned at the ends. Because nowadays, friends, just a moment, 1 minute, 1 second. Sir, 1 second, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we are back. So this is rarely practical to provide the location of shear wall in the center of each of the building because of the space constraint. Because you are even though as a design engineer you can explain more the benefits to your owner of the building who is going to financially invest, but however he may not understand the benefits. He will be focusing on how the space can be created for car parking for in the basement or in the silt level, so that the provision can be given to the customers or the occupants. So this is rarely practical. However, since it dictates the utilization of the space, so they are positioned at the ends. That's what we are seeing in this second. Okay. Now shape and position of the walls give good flexural stiffness in the short direction, but relieves on the stiffness of the frame in the overall direction. However, this arrangement, suppose if you are giving like a channel in the like this arrangement looks good. Torsional stiffness of the previous arrangements due to the eccentricity of the base. If the core remains in this position, then it must be designed explicitly for the torsion effect. It is as far preferable to adopt a symmetrical arrangement to avoid this. So when you are going like this unsymmetrical location, then the torsional effect also to be considered. Generally, in the design, the engineers will forget about the torsion effect, because the torsional, we don't have any separate equation for the torsion. The torsion effect can be converted into equivalent bending moment or equivalent shear. Henceforth, the impact of torsion also to be given a equal importance as how we are considering the bending moment and shear. Otherwise, because of the torsion, you will be seeing a development of cracks because the detailing part is not taken care for the torsional effect. So whenever you are going to be involved in this type as shown in the last figure, you have to take into consideration the torsional effect also. Now this slide brings the precast. Either you can go for a cast in situ or you can go for like a precast. So when you're going involved in a precast type of shear wall, this is how a pictorial representation. It can be casted at the yard and it can be brought to site, it lifted, and it can be just like how the kids used to build a building with the help of building blocks. One over the other, they just go and the fixing. No, friends, when you see the building blocks, one block will be having a grooves projecting from its surface. The another block will be having a hollow holes. It is something like act like a shear key. That's what when you see any precast segmental construction, like for example in the metro, every segment will have one will be having a hollow block, another will be a shear key. That is called shear key. That key will, when you are joining these two objects, just imagine how the kids join the two blocks. The same way is the key will take care of the shear effect. Okay. Now, what are the design consideration? One is the thickness of the wall should be between 150 mm to 400 mm. Diameter of the bar will be always 1/10 of the wall thickness, and minimum reinforcement is 0.25% of the gross area of the section. And two curtain reinforcement will be provided if the thickness of the wall exceeds 200 mm and the factored shear stress is increased 0.25 root of FCK, where FCK is the characteristic strength of concrete. Now, what are the forces that acts on the shear wall? One is, there are two main forces. One is shear force, another one is uplift forces. So shear forces produced in the buildings from the ground movement and lateral forces like wind and waves, that is seismically. Then uplift forces. I'm not reading the first two lines, algebraic sum of all force, because that is the definition of shear force that you might have studied in your mechanics of solids. So I don't want to repeat that. Now the uplift force produces due to the horizontal forces to the top of the shear wall. It tries to lift up the one end of the shear wall and push down to the other end of the wall. So uplift forces produce a greater effect on the tall walls and smaller effects on the low, long wall. Now this slide will able to picturize the failure mechanism of shear wall. One is number A, that is flexure failure. The left hand side, first one. This. Then horizontal shear failure. Then C, this is vertical shear failure, and the D is buckling shear failure. So after understanding what are all the forces that the shear force will take, and what are all the in what way the shear wall will undergo failure, once these factors are known to us, then automatically you can design and detail the shear wall accordingly. Now this slide will give you the detailing part, that is horizontal and vertical. So you will be having a vertical and also horizontal bonds. Okay, friends. Now next, my dear friends, suppose you are building. Nowadays, in all the multi-story buildings like residential flat system, they introduce a fire alarming system, sprinklers. Even the participants where you are living in if you are living in a multi-story building, you might also be seeing the sprinklers provided in each and every low of your residential, in the hall, in the common corridor walk area, in your kitchen, in a dining room, or in the bedrooms and other areas. So what is the importance of these sprinklers? these sprinklers is not provided to switch off the fire. These sprinklers, whenever there are fire happened due to electricity problem or any other issues, the cylinder leakage or electricity leakage, if any fire happens in the concrete building inside, these sprinklers will immediately come into function. They reduce the temperature of the concrete wall, because concrete will try to expand due to this thermal effect. So that is why these sprinklers will keep the concrete wall cool to avoid the damage of the concrete wall, so that you will get a curing time and you can minimize the effect of fire damages, as well as, and also you can save the occupants. Human life can be saved within that curing time. So one benefit is to reduce the heat, the thermal expansion of the concrete, and another benefit of the sprinkler system provided inside the residential flat are to get a curing time to save or to bring out of the occupants. Suppose then after the fire is brought to control, the assessment of concrete structure has to take place through visual inspection and some field test, and also through laboratory test. So in the visual inspection, you will understand the surface damages. The damages on the concrete wall will be known through your visual inspection, but only on the surface. Even if there are no damages are seen visually on the surface, however, there may be some hidden damages behind the concrete inside. Hence, to understand that impact, you can do some field test like rebound hammer, UPV test, that is non-destructive testing, and another one is Windsor probe test. This rebound hammer test will give you have to hit the plunger over the concrete surface, you will get some value. However, on the same surface, when you repeat the test at various points, the results will vary. Henceforth, you cannot depend only on the rebound hammer test. So you have to do some UPV test. UPV test with the help of conductors, by passing the current, the distance traveled from the introduction of the current, and it travels and come back to the another transducers. You will have two transducers. One is sending the current, another one is receiving the current. So the distance traveled between these 2 points, with respect to the time, the velocity will define the quality of concrete inside. The next test is Windsor probe. This Windsor probe is also a non-destructive test. It is something called as penetration test. So by penetrating this probe inside the concrete section, you can able to assess the compression strength parameter. So after the damage of fire accident happened, you can able to understand whether there are any prominent reduction in the compression strength of the concrete that you can determine. The other tests are field tests, taking some samples of reinforcement and taking some samples of concrete to understand the tensile strength of the reinforcement, because the reinforcement also metal, that metal also will get expand due to the thermal, the temperature generated due to the fire. So that the sprinkler system will reduce the temperature effect on the concrete as well as the steel provided inside. That is the main purpose. So this is the pictorial representation of the Windsor probe test. So always this probe to be fired at right angle from the surface, and the initial velocity will be 183 meter per second, or with respect to plus or minus 1%. So the clear gap from reinforcement shall be 50 mm. Minimum member thickness is 150 mm. The edge distance is 150 mm. Now, we will be seeing what is retrofitting. We have seen what is earthquake, why the buildings are falling during the earthquake, and what is shear wall that will add value in resisting the earthquake impact. Then what are the different types of shear wall? How the shape? What is the influence of shape and location of shear wall? And what are the different types of shear wall and how it can be provided? And we have seen how the damages of fire can be reduced in the concrete and how it can be assessed. It can be assessed through visual, it can be assessed through field test, and it can be assessed through the laboratory test. Then once the assessment are over, you can develop the scheme of retrofitting or rehabilitation or repair accordingly. So we will be seeing in this flow. Now, what is retrofitting? It is a collection of mitigation technique for the earthquake engineering. So retrofitting proves to be a better economic consideration, immediate shelter to problem, rather than replacement of building or rather than replacement of the entire component. My dear friends, the technique repair, rehabilitation, retrofitting, these terms are always used not to completely eradicate or completely demolish the structure as a whole. You are going to introduce some additional components. You are going to introduce some technique in such a way the building will be retained. And in other words, you are going to bring back the design function without causing any damage to the building as a whole. Okay. So the retrofitting technique is also applicable for other natural hazards like tropical cyclones, tornadoes, and severe winds from thunderstorms. It is utmost important for historic monuments, areas prone to severe earthquakes, and tall or expensive structures. Now, why retrofitting is required? See, there are two circumstances. One is earthquake damaged buildings and earthquake vulnerable buildings with no exposure to severe earthquakes. Nearly 5 lakh earthquakes occur every year around the world, among which about 1 lakh are felt and the rest occur nearly constantly almost anywhere. Therefore, whenever you feel, see, even though you have a temperature, when you're going for a thermal scanning, even though thermal scan shows some degree, higher degree, unless or otherwise you feel the impact, like when you are having a high temperature, you will be feeling the tiredness, or you will be seeing the tasteless in your mouth. Unless you see the impact of that temperature, you will not feel that you are having a fever. The same way, even though the earthquakes are happening regularly below the earth, unless or otherwise you visualize or you feel the effect, like when the ground shaking, when you are feeling some faint or some crack developments in the ground, earth on the surface, or some movement of the building, unless these are not felt, you will not feel that there is an earthquake has taken place. So large number of casualties occur in buildings due to earthquake. The reasons may be inadequate design, poor construction and maintenance, lack of resources, inadequate knowledge and awareness, inadequate safety implementation. That's why, my dear friends, after the Bhuj earthquake, it has been estimated that the flat system which are constructing at the base, between the columns to column, they provide space for car parking at the ground level. The first floor, only the occupants will start from first floor. The more damages are happened to the buildings which are having more spaces, hollow spaces underneath. That's why after Bhuj earthquake, it has been recommended that such a type of provision has to be avoided. Then the provision of shear wall got a lot more importance. Provision of a shear wall at the center core, it is provision with the lift shaft or stair wall shaft at the center core or at the corners concrete wall, connecting with the columns or connecting and connecting finally the forces will be transported to the foundation. Then objectives. One is public safety, structure serviceability, structure functionality, structure unaffected. Therefore, the aim is to upgrade the lateral strength of structure and to increase the ductility. My dear friends, whenever you are involved in the design of seismic effects, the detailing, the ductility is a term that plays a vital role. The detailing of the framed structure for a non-seismic zone and a seismic zone is totally different. So whenever you are studying the detailing part, please always refer yourself. Get master in the respective code books. Parallelly, you refer what the guidelines has been stipulated or specified in the respective codes, ductility codes. You cannot say to your manager that I have not been exposed in designing a seismic course. You cannot say the reason when you are employed. When you are employed, your objective should be always a deliverable. No reason should be said. You are positioned in the office to give solution, not to give the reason. Please keep in your mind. So this is a graphical representation showing retrofitting to retrofit or not. So when the evaluation of the building indicates the strength available before the damage was insufficient and restoration alone will not be adequate in future plans. Now, this is a flow chart that describes about the retrofitting, various retrofitting techniques with reference to the global as well as with reference to the local. So with reference to global, you have the different options like adding shear wall, adding infill wall, adding bracing, adding wing wall thickening, mass reduction, base isolation, mass dampers. There are different options are available, my dear friends. The only thing is you have to be a master in deciding. You should be in a position of in a deciding authority to choose which is more suitable for your site condition. You are the master. Nobody can tell you choose this X, Y, Z. You are the master to choose the right option and for your right suiting your site condition as well as the cost. Then in reference to the local retrofitting techniques like jacketing of beam, jacketing of column, jacketing of beam column joint, strengthening of individual footings. In addition to the jacketing, nowadays we go for a FRP system, fiber reinforced polymer system, wrapping or provision of laminates. Now this is the photographical view of adding shear wall. So by adding shear wall, the most important point is you are adding value in terms of increasing the lateral strength, in terms of increasing the ductility, in terms of increasing the stiffness of the building substantially. The stiffness is more important. How stiff you are to resist the external impact is more important. Now the next, adding infill wall. We have pictorial representation of adding infill. Suppose there are hollow spaces in between the columns at the base where it is been provided for the car parking, because the owner probably may not be understood the engineering importance of the, even though the structure is coming in seismic zone 4 or 5, he may be thinking of that I am providing a huge space for car parking at the base, at the ground, and through lift or staircase you can go to your respective floors for occupants. However, the importance of the space is not known to either to the occupant or to the owner or the builder We call it as unless the damages occur. When the damages occur, who are the sufferers? The sufferers are the occupants, not the owners, because the builders always used to give 1 year defect liability period. After that, anything happens, they will not be responsible. So you are investing, the customers are investing more per square feet. So as a designer, you should add value to your investors. The safety of the investors are in the hands of the designers in due understanding of what are the different types of forces that are going to act on your design structure. One is vertical force. One is the another important point is the horizontal force, that is lateral force. You should never always focus only on the vertical force alone, dead loads, drive loads. In addition to that, the horizontal forces also should be taken into picture. The next is adding steel bracings. In most of the industrial buildings, for example, the car parkings, multi-level car parking, which may be constructed by using steel element, they will be providing a steel bracing. These steel bracings will always resist the lateral impact, adding stiffness to the skeleton structure as a whole. That is why, my dear friends, if you go see any bowsing bridge, they will be provided with a bracing at the top connecting the two bows on either side. Bracings. It may be of concrete bracing or it may be of steel bracing also. Okay. So these bracing will add value to the stiffness of the structure as a whole. The next item is adding wing wall or buttress as shown in this photograph. Next is wall thickening techniques. It increases by adding bricks, concrete and steel reinforcement. It can bear more vertical and horizontal loads. It does not cause sudden failure of the wall. This is the actual picture which has been retrofitted in Tripura of a brick wall. Now next is mass reduction. Decrease the load at foundation so that increase the life and strength. Sometimes you may be designed only by considering ground plus 2, but however the builder in the interest, he may construct additional 2 to 3 floors. In such cases, your structure stiffness, you are increasing the mass, but the stiffness will not be there. Now, by introducing base isolation, this is a pictorial representation of introduction of isolation. So, isolation of superstructure from the foundation is known as base isolation. It is the most powerful tool for passive structural vibration technique, and building can remain serviceable throughout construction. It does not involve major intrusion upon existing superstructure. So you are isolating the superstructure from the foundation. That is called as base isolation. Now seismic dampers. So dampers are used in place of structural elements like diagonal braces for controlling damaged structures. It partially absorbs the seismic energy and reduces the motion of buildings. There are 3 types of dampers. One is viscous dampers, friction dampers, and yielding dampers. See, when the energy is absorbed by silicon-based fluid, you call it as viscous dampers. When the energy is absorbed by surfaces with friction between them rubbing against each other, then we call it as friction dampers. When the energy is absorbed by metallic components that yield, you call it as a yielding dampers. These are the pictorial representation of different energy dissipation devices. The next comes jacketing. This the jacketing we have also seen earlier in one of our session about jacketing. You are adding value in terms of strengthening of jacketing of a column, jacketing of a beam, and even a beam column junction. So the purpose of jacketing is to increase The concrete confinement to increase shear to increase structural strength. This is a pictorial view of retrofitting at junctions by steel plate. So retrofitting by steel reinforced concrete. Friends, whenever you are involved in any technique, the beam column connection also should be taken place, and you should also make suitable arrangement because the joints are the weakest point. So the joint should also be strengthened by providing a proper detailing, even though what type, irrespective of type of technique that you are going to evolve. Now this is a photography of retrofitting using CFR, the wrapping system. The orientation of wrapping plays an important role. In which direction you are going to wrap. These are the photographic view of the structure that has been retrofitted. So finally, the seismic retrofitting is a suitable technology for protection of variety of structures. It has matured in recent years, but the expertise needed is not available in the basic level. So decrease the working stress of concrete structure due to extension in structural elements and affect the appearance. Optimization techniques are required to know the most efficient retrofit for a particular structure. The main challenge is to achieve a desired performance level at minimum cost, which can be achieved through a detailed nonlinear analysis. Proper design codes are required to be published as a code of practice for professionals related to this field. So these are the references. My dear friends, whenever you are referring any code, ductility code or any other code, please always ensure you are referring to the latest code. Probably this, whatever displayed in this slide, beyond this also latest code might have been developed and released. So kindly, you please refer always parallelly whenever you are involved in the design or in studying a design paper or when you are experimenting at in your laboratory. Please refer parallelly the respective code books. What are the standards and specification limitations are given in the code book. That will always help you to understand, to configure the system, whether it is a skeletal system or a non-skeletal, framed or non-framed, unframed structure. It has to meet its intended design function. Okay, my dear friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Friends, we are still we are nowadays the cases of increasing in this pandemic period. So please be very safe. Follow all health protocols. Always use mask. I hope you have been going to colleges. So whenever you are in groups, always wear mask. Don't take risk. Risk can be taken, but it should be of calculated risk. Always use mask when you are in public. Always say vanakkam or namaste. Don't use to have shake your hands with each other. You wash your hands frequently with either soap or any other sanitizer solutions. Be safe, be healthy, intake more healthy vegetables, fruits, improve your immunity. God bless everyone. All the best for your future and keep always don't forget that keep moving. இதுவும் கடந்து போகும். All the best. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, we came to an end of partial delivery course given by Mr. Ravi Kumar, sir. And thank you so much, sir, for giving, spending around 9 hours of your time. Thank you, sir. And students, if you have any doubt, you can ask.
One opportunity meeting all energetic young engineers where more and more opportunities are there. The world is full of opportunities. you have if you have a skill develop in your subject, definitely you will welcome with that. The world needs more skillful engineers of the subject. Whether you are your CGP is never as important. The more important is how skilled enough in your subject. That's what the industry is. All the best. Any doubt, you can please put a message in. I will be always available in, in helping you overcome your doubts. All the best. Keep moving. You have been blessed. The water.
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Now is it clear?
Sir, hello, sir. No, sir, voice is breaking, sir.
1 minute. There's a network. Sir?
Sir,
Okay. Conclude.
hello, sir.
1 minute, 1 minute. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir. Friends, you have been blessed with a wonderful professor and your HOD. So keep moving.
Great future,
Great future is ahead for you.
Keep reading.
Keep reading. You spend more time in your library and lab. Develop your skill, and definitely you can shine like a sun in the outside industry world. All the best. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I hope students are benefited from this session. Thank you so much, students. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.